As one of the oldest water conservancy projects in the world, Dujiang Weir has still, even though more than 2,000 years have passed and those hydraulic projects in the same period have been in ruins, irrigated tens of thousands of acres of fertile lands. Integrated into a whole with nature, the Weir has perfectly solved such problems as reservoir deposits and water amount control, which are still puzzling human beings nowadays. Therefore, the Weir is crowned by great wisdoms of ancient Chinese people concerning harmonious coexistence between man and nature. In November 2000, Dujiang Weir, as an ancient hydraulic project solely survived with the longest history and adopting damless water diversion so far in the world, was put on the World Heritage List. Sichuan Province, known as a land of abundance, lies in southwest China. Due to the prosperity here, since the ancient days, there has been an old saying which reads, "Not to come to Sichuan when you are young and not to leave Sichuan when you are getting old, because life here is really too comfortable." However, 2,000 years ago, this place was fed with flood disasters year after year. In China's dynasty of Qin, a local official called Li Bing built Dujiang Weir, and from then on, this place became a barn. Today, when we look down upon this weir, which has gone through over 2,000 years testing, we cannot help but marvel at the builder's wisdom and courage. From the location selection, design to construction, all these reflect Li Bing's genius-like water control conception. Seen from the map, the Dujiang Weir irrigated Chengdu Plain and the hill region of Middle Sichuan are just like a big fan with the whole fan surface inclining from east to west. The fan handle in the highest position is Dujiang Weir, while the numerous aqueducts are the fan bones. Water from the weir flows naturally along these aqueducts to the vast plain to irrigate this rich area of land. In the face of rushing Ming River water from the mountain pass, there's no dam as magnificent as in imagination, and also no mountain and water-independent project that can display human power. All seem to be a heaven-made match, looking so natural and harmonious. The water dividing bank in the shape of fish's mouth in the center of the Ming River divides the rushing water into two parts. Inner river with a relatively lower position is used for irrigation, and the outer river with a relatively higher position is used for discharging water. When the water is abundant, due to division the water cannot cause any flood. When the drought season comes, the water will naturally flow to the inner river due to its relatively lower position, which guarantees abundant water supply for Dujiang Weir. And as the water flowing to the inner river is all surface water, the mud and sand content can be greatly reduced, accounting for only 1/3 of that of the water in inner river. The water of the inner river comes down to the flying sand weir along the bank, and then forms a curve where the torrential stream slows down to some extent. Under the effect of different currents, the sand and the mud deposit once again here. Also, when the current is plentiful, discharging path outside the flying sand weir can distribute the flood to the outer river. Through sand division in the fish's mouth and sand discharge in the flying sand weir, the sand content of the inner river accounts for less than 1/10 of that before. At this time, the water in the river has no turbid sand and mud, turns into a fluctuant jade belt, and finally passes the Aquarius mouth to the vast areas of fertile land in need of irrigation. The treasure bottle mouth is a name that can give people limitless good imagination. Maybe when people first gave her this beautiful name, they had known she could bring affluence to local people. Treasure bottle mouth is not born natural. Over 2,000 years ago, what met the river stream here used to be a rocky mountain. In that age of no dynamite, it was almost impossible to cleave a mountain. But the smart Li Bing had made use of our familiar theory of heat expansion and cold contraction. He firstly baked the mountain and then stimulated the rocks on the mountain with cold water to make them become very frail, and finally cut it open with iron pricks. Treasure bottle mouth with a wider up part and a narrow lower part not only effectively control the capacity of the water to the irrigation area, but also makes the mud and sand discharged in the flying sand weir, as a relatively narrow hatch causes the current to slow down. In the season of flood, redundant water can also be distributed through discharging path. More surprisingly, Dujiang Weir not only conforms to the spirit of China's ancient natural site in overall design, but also uses local materials in the specific construction, making largely use of local bamboos and cobbles for the banks to slow down and distribute the current. After Dujiang Weir was built, Li Bing, the leader of Kingdom Shu in Qin Dynasty, established the annual repairing rule of the water course. This rule is still abided today, guaranteeing the solidity of Dujiang Weir. It is said that after Li Bing died, he turned himself into a stone image in the water, monitoring the water level, watching the project that has been benefiting people. In 1974, when people cleared the riverbed of Dujiang Weir, they found a stone image inscribed words Li Bing, Old Kingdom leader of Shu. Only at this time people began to know this smiling and deliberate water control genius. In Dujiang Weir and its irrigating areas, we can easily find many places commemorating Li Bing. For example, Two Leaders Temple, surrounded by Mountain Qing, facing the ancient Weir, is a place where people hold memorial ceremonies for Li Bing and his son. On the wall of this temple, which integrated the elements of architectural characteristics of Chinese classical garden into a hall, the secret of water control for Dujiang Weir was inscribed, serving as guidance for people in later times. People will never forget those who have made contributions to the maintenance of Dujiang Weir in every dynasty. Due to their efforts, Dujiang Weir could be renovated and repaired frequently, benefiting people forever.
借来一江春水，浇灌两岸桑田。纵然是千年万年，一心造福烟火人间。
Of the Dujiang Weir's maintenance of the life force. Not far from the Dujiang Weir, the mountain Qingcheng, which is the cradle land of this idea, Because of their cultural value and unprecedented pioneering nature, both Mountain Qingchang and Dujiangwei were listed as World Heritage in 2000. Qingcheng Mountain got its name because of its round summit arrangement, exuberant and evergreen forests. It is now well known as a blessing place and fairyland in the world. The reputation of Qingcheng, the quietest place of the world, states its essence furthermore with a single comment. In 143 AD, after 100 years later after the completion of the Dujiangwei project, a man named Zhang Lin came to Mountain Qingcheng. He was attracted by the mountain's quietness and serenity. Thereafter, he began to attain enlightenment here, and then created Taoism, the Chinese native religion. Taoism is a religion that combines together human beings with nature, emphasizing the harmonious union of heaven and human beings. Everything we do should conform to the law of nature. Now, Taoism has gone deeply into the Chinese culture, and its thoughts have deeply influenced Chinese people's lives in every field, such as Chinese ancient medicine, astronomy, music, architecture, and so on. It is said that Zhang Lin, that was named as a Tianshi or Heavenly Master, finally got the essence of the universe and the world, and became a god here in Mountain Qingcheng. From then on, Mountain Qingcheng became the famous Taoist mountain with the most densely distributed Taoist architectures. Until now, every generation of Tianshi still comes to Mountain Qingcheng to pray to their ancestors. Mountain Qingcheng consists of two parts, anterior Mountain Qingcheng and the posterior Mountain Qingcheng. The anterior mountain is densely covered with Taoist temples, full of strong religious atmosphere. Mountain Qingcheng's Taoist palaces center on the Tianshi Cave, surrounded by Jianfu Palace, Shanqing Palace, Hall of Ancestors, Laojun Pavilion, Chaoyang Cave, and other architectures. The pavilions of Taoism draw their materials from the nature and blend into a whole with the surrounding mountains, forests, rocks, and rivers, embodying the style of pursuing the harmony between heaven and human beings, and upholding simplicity and austerity, in perfect harmony with the quiet Mountain Qingcheng. Watching over Tianshi Cave from Laojun Pavilion on the highest part of the interior mountain, we find it was surrounded by mountains from three facets, with one side facing river setting off one another with the green forests. Zhang Lin was said to attain enlightenment in this cave and thus created Taoism. Then the Tianshi Cave also got its name from this. During his stay here, Zhang Lin grew his maidenhair tree by himself. Now this tree, which has been weathered for more than 2,000 years, became a praying resort for people as well. The Tianshi Cave we see today is in the building style of Qing Dynasty with pylon eaves and elaborate decorations, indicating the ideology of Taoism in pursuit of good luck, longevity, and immortality. The mountain Qingcheng with rich vegetation is not only a holy mountain of Taoism, but also a mountain that has over 730 kinds of woody plants and large numbers of precious medicinal materials. Sun Zimiao, the Taoist in Tang Dynasty, came to Mountain Qingcheng and collected a great deal of medicinal materials here. He had studied the various medicinal characteristics of these materials and written the famous medical book Qian Jin Fang. Because this famous classic book is still a compulsory course for traditional Chinese doctrine, Sun Zimiao is called Medicine King by the latecomers. If we said that the anterior mountain represents aspiration of people for the fairyland, then the posterior mountain stands for a kind of completely different idyllic paradise-like scenery. Here the scene is elegant and pleasant, and the people who live here are just like those who live in the Wonderland, described by Tao Yuanmi, a poet of Jin Dynasty. As a famous water control project and a well-known mountain of Taoism, this land has left over 1,000 years affluence and endless ideological and cultural heritages for Chengdu people. There are still more treasures here to be found by the world.